Welcome, everyone. This is Debbie Mayberry with National Kitchen and Bath Association. You are here for our first webinar of the month on outdoor living, and all of our sessions this month are generously sponsored by Blaze Outdoor Products. Today's session is called Winning Outdoor Kitchen Design, Creating Sophisticated Spaces That Work. Russ Falk is with us, and he is the Chief Designer and Head of Product, and he is with Kalamazoo Outdoor Gourmet. And Russ, we are ready to get started. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Debbie, and welcome everybody. I'm glad you could join us today. We're going to talk about some of the basics of outdoor kitchen design, and we'll dive right in here. As Debbie mentioned, I am Russ Falk, Chief Designer and Head of Product for Kalamazoo Outdoor Gourmet. My primary role is twofold here. I design our products for outdoor kitchens, so all of our cooking products, cabinetry, etc. I also manage our team that provides outdoor kitchen design support, both directly to end clients as well as to design professionals such as yourselves. So our learning objectives today are relatively straightforward. We want to start with evaluating a client's outdoor cooking and entertaining needs, which is where any outdoor kitchen project should really begin. We're going to talk in a little bit more detail about assessing the proposed site and the implications of where we place the kitchen on the property. And then we're going to adapt some of the proven indoor kitchen design principles to the specific needs of outdoors. We'll quickly touch on options for outdoor kitchen appliances and cabinetry, and then we'll go through some of the common outdoor kitchen design mistakes. I'd like to start by talking about really what is an outdoor kitchen, and it really has evolved over the years. What was once just a built-in grill has really evolved to a fully functional outdoor space. So here we see something that we actually still see quite frequently, but this is what an outdoor kitchen really used to be. It was a nice built-in grill with some stonework and a little bit of countertop. The only difference between an outdoor kitchen and a barbecue grill was the fact that it was built in and had countertop space. But today, they can be completely functional, completely self-sufficient with all the room you need to work, all the refrigeration you need, ample sinks. This particular kitchen has 2 different sinks. So they've really evolved over the years. Another thing that I've seen change a bit is the use of an outdoor kitchen. Is it really just a party venue, or is it a primary kitchen for everyday use? Here we do see more of a party venue, and I'll try and hide my jealousy, but this is one of 2 kitchens in this San Diego oceanfront home. They actually have their primary use outdoor kitchen down near the indoor kitchen, and this rooftop outdoor kitchen is more for parties. But I find it to be a really high priority for us anyway. To ensure that the outdoor kitchen can serve successfully as a primary kitchen for the home, really a second kitchen for the home, and not just something for parties and special occasions. This rooftop kitchen in Fargo, North Dakota, is located directly outside the door to the indoor kitchen, and it is used almost every night of the week, year round. Another thing we've seen evolved, and part of why we're here today, is who's designing outdoor kitchens. They were once the specialty of landscape design professionals, but they really are an opportunity being taken advantage of by kitchen design professionals and interior design professionals. I've got 2 examples here. Both are maybe a bit on the older side, but this is an outdoor kitchen designed by Dawn White, an NKBA member who does her work up in the Petoskey area of northern Michigan. And this one is the work of an interior designer named Sandy Kepke, and this is down in Manhattan Beach, California. So we definitely see interior design professionals embracing outdoor kitchens and doing some fantastic work. It's not surprising when you look at the trends from the American Institute of Architects Home Design Survey. This happens every year in Q2. They do touch on the specialty spaces and things like that. In 2020, outdoor living was the top requested special function room for the 6th survey in a row. You'll see home office started to come on strong with the pandemic. We were barely into it in Q2. It'll be interesting to see next quarter what this year's survey looks like, but outdoor living still came out on top with 31% of respondents saying that was their top priority for a home project. So let's dive into getting started on your outdoor kitchen designs. We want to begin by assessing the site. We'll move on to understanding the homeowner needs. Once we have both of those figured out, we can get into selecting the appliances and cabinetry. And then we have to choose the appropriate construction technique that we're going to use for building the outdoor kitchen. And there are a few options there. First off, here's a typical site plan. This is the work of a landscape architect in Northern California. We want to really work on the relationship between the indoor kitchen and the outdoor kitchen, as well as the relationship between the outdoor kitchen and other outdoor living spaces, either existing or planned. For those of you who haven't found the outdoor kitchen on this site plan yet, it is in the upper right corner of the property. The kitchen, as you might expect, is at the back of the house, so these are relatively conveniently located. When it comes to positioning the outdoor kitchen and how we deal with landscaping and hardscaping, we also want to think about privacy. And that goes two ways. We don't want to be disturbed by neighbors when we're trying to relax in our outdoor kitchen with our family. And we don't want to disturb our neighbors when we have all of our friends over in the outdoor kitchen in the after times when those come along. Another key consideration when it comes to assessing the site is the utilities. How practical, how feasible will it be to get the required utilities to different places on the property where we might want to place the kitchen? We, of course, have to understand local codes regarding placement and size. How far from the property boundary can it be? Any height restrictions for a pergola we might want to put over it, or a shelter. Things like that tend to vary with location on the plot of land. We very much want to understand existing drainage patterns. We do not want to place the outdoor kitchen on a spot of the property that's going to flood when we have a heavy rainfall. And if we do need to place it there, then we need some drainage mitigation to be in place. We even want to understand shade and sun patterns throughout the seasons, depending on when we're going to be using the kitchen, and prevailing wind direction. Even that matters. You don't want to place your smoky barbecue grill right outside some lanai doors into your main indoor living area. You also might not want to put it upwind of your dining area outdoors. So all of these things come into play. I emphasize the relationship to the indoor kitchen really matters. We kind of break down kitchens into two basic categories at its most fundamental level. We've got what we call a satellite kitchen, and a satellite kitchen is heavily dependent upon the indoor kitchen for prep and refrigeration. Meaning the satellite kitchen is primarily for using those outdoor cooking activities that you can't pursue indoors, but the things you can do indoors, you might still be doing indoors, including prep and cleanup, as well as cold food storage. If we're going to make a satellite kitchen that doesn't have all those capabilities, we want to ensure that that kitchen is very adjacent and convenient to the indoor kitchen. So it's easy to get back and forth. A fully independent kitchen can cut the ties to the indoor kitchen. There's going to be greater need for space in the kitchen and capabilities, but it can be a destination kitchen on the property or even on the far side of a pool or other outdoor living areas. So this is a real turning point in terms of figuring out how much counter space we need, what kind of appliances we need, how much storage we need, etc. Got a couple of examples for you. On the left, we have a relatively typical satellite outdoor kitchen. That kitchen has a little bit of storage, a little bit of counter space, but not a lot of room to work. You'll see it has no refrigeration. It also has no sink. And that's one thing that I want to emphasize is I believe even in a satellite kitchen, I'd love to see a hospitality sink at the very least out there so that the cook can wash his or her hands. You don't want to have to be running back and forth to the indoor kitchen because we're dependent on the indoor kitchen with slimy, dirty hands, getting that all over your door handles, things like that. So I do still like to see a sink out there. That one doesn't have it. On the right, we have a fully independent kitchen. You can see how much bigger it is. You've got a little bit of a glimpse of how much more counter space there is. You can see the faucet there, a couple pieces of refrigeration, and plenty of storage in that independent kitchen. Another thing we need to understand and where we want to start is what types of outdoor cooking does the homeowner do today and what do they aspire to do in the future? This is a brand new, very exciting project putting in this outdoor kitchen. What do they hope to do with the outdoor kitchen that may go beyond their current outdoor grilling techniques? This covers a full spectrum from, everyday grilling, just regular grilling like we think of, which can happen on a gas grill. It could happen on a charcoal grill, might happen on a combination of the two. Traditional American barbecue, if they really aspire to become a pit master and make the world's most perfect brisket, or even smoked vegetables, which I love to do, you might want to look into a dedicated smoker, which is going to perform better for barbecue than a more multi-purpose grill. You could also look at a Kamado style cooker for that. Pizza making, if they're really passionate about pizza making, it's another piece of specialty equipment we might want to look into. And for me, the ultimate in outdoor cooking is wood fired grilling and rotisserie, which again might be a specialty piece of equipment to consider. We also want to understand how the kitchen's going to be used, not just what kinds of appliances they need, how much space do we need for cooks? Is there going to be one cook most of the time, or is it going to be multiple cooks trying to work together? Is this family going to bring in caterers for fundraiser events, things like that? Do we need that kind of space? And do we also need to think about easy ways to almost cordon off for safety the outdoor kitchen? I think U-shaped kitchens are fantastic for this. So if you do have a situation where there's going to be caterers and big parties and things like that, if we create a U-shaped kitchen, a serving table, temporary serving table can go across the entry of the U, and we can keep the general guests out of the way of the caterers who are working and hustling and moving hot things and sharp knives. We want to think about how much of the year this kitchen's going to be used. Do we need to do things to extend the season? Is this going to be a primary kitchen for the home that they do want to use in the winter? We can do things to create more comfort and shelter and things like that. How big are the parties and dinners going to be? How frequent are the parties going to be? And we're seeing more and more outdoor kitchens are sheltered from the elements. People want to use this investment, rain or shine, and I think that that's fantastic. There is a lot that comes there's a lot of implications to having shelter from rain and having a roof over the outdoor kitchen in particular. We should really be making sure that we're building a non-combustible structure, because you can't put a combustible structure over the top of any grill. We also want to think about smoke management and smoke evacuation. If we have a pitched roof or a hipped roof, we want to be able to let the smoke out the center at the top rather than just lingering there. When it comes to dining and seating priorities, you've probably all seen sort of raised bar seating at the perimeter of an outdoor kitchen is really popular. Just like indoors, the party almost always ends up in the kitchen, very much so outdoors as well. So bar and counter seating is very popular there. But we do also want to think about dining table capacity. Here you see a nice raised dining table, makes it a little more casual having it at bar height. In the space there, we want to think about lounge seating, which you can also see in the foreground of this image. And then as we talked about caterers and fundraising and things like that, do we need to provide some storage for flexible seating, folding chairs and folding tables? Is there a good place to put those when we need to scale up our capacity? Another thing that I like to talk about, especially as it relates to the bar or counter seating and the dining seating, is trying to include the cook in the party. The person who's standing at the grill working, you don't want them to necessarily have their back to the dining area or seating area like in this example kitchen, because they have to turn around fully. It is really great if you can set that seating to the left or to the right of the grill, so it's a simple 90-degree turn, and everybody's included in the party the entire time. Last point there, and we'll talk about workflow a little bit more later, we do want to plan for the serving workflow and the cleanup workflow as it relates to our dining seating. Another part about homeowner needs assessment, we need to have frank conversations regarding their tolerance for maintenance and cleanup. This includes winterizing of appliances and plumbing, and it includes the finishes and materials that we choose. How often does the stone have to be sealed, if at all? If they're really attracted to the idea of wood, do they understand what it's going to take to maintain that wood outdoors versus stainless steel, which is a little more carefree? And the last bit on homeowner needs is, of course, a very important bit, the budget. We're not going to talk about budgeting here overall, but there are a few tips that I can give you that help manage the scale of the budget. One is when things are tight, you can save a fair amount of money on utilities and sometimes even more of the construction aspect of the outdoor kitchen by locating the outdoor kitchen against the house, as you see here. Ideally, right outside, right opposite the wet wall of the indoor kitchen if you can, because it's going to make your plumbing and gas connections and things like that a bit easier. Another tip is modular systems, and this is a modular system you see here. Requires a little bit, is a little bit higher cost than access doors and things like that. But it is definitely less expensive to install. So what you spend more on doing full modular cabinetry, you save on not having more masonry and carpentry. And it's certainly all a trade-off. The last tip I want to share on the budget, and I always make sure I share this tip, is do what you can to not scrimp on the grill. There are a lot of places to save money. Obviously, I'm biased, but there is a reason to what I'm saying. One, the grill is the heart of the outdoor kitchen. It's going to make or break the client's satisfaction with that outdoor kitchen for years to come. And the grill is not easily swapped out. It is not like an indoor range where they come in, the three most common widths for the US, and you can slide in somebody else's if they want to upgrade in the future. The cutout dimensions are not common among manufacturers. So if you go with brand B or C or D and the client is unhappy, it's going to be a lot of work to change to brand A or F. Let's get a little bit more into equipment selection and really just the options that are available. I want to make sure that we lay all of those out. When it comes to outdoor cooking, there's a huge variety. It's not just a grill. You do have grills, and you can choose, as I mentioned, from charcoal grills, gas grills, hybrid grills, dedicated wood grills, smokers, specialty type of smokers. People love to have those in the outdoor kitchen, or you can go with a Kamado grill, which is a good smoker and grill, kind of a more of a crossover unit. Cooktops, there's a lot of different things you can do. You can do an entire range top outdoors. You can do flat tops and griddles. You can do 2 or 4 burner cooktops. You can do wok burners and power burners, lobster boil units, lower deck cooktops. Dedicated pizza ovens, of course, in gas or wood fired or hybrid, tandoors and other specialty equipment. The other thing that I put on this page is warming, which is kind of part of our hot zone. It's not necessarily for cooking, but there are lots of options for warming in the outdoor kitchen as well. Refrigeration, a lot of people don't realize how much is available for refrigeration. You can see the whole laundry list there. It's all available for outdoors, all outdoor rated, all ready to go. And there are even outdoor rated dishwashers available for use in the outdoor kitchen. When it comes to cabinetry, there's a lot of, you can do custom cabinetry, you can do semi-custom cabinetry. It's nice to have waste and recycling units outdoors. Obviously, you're going to have sinks and faucets. People do like to have dedicated bar units and bar rails dropped in. And of course, we want to think about audio, video, and data capabilities when we're selecting our options. So we've gotten to the point where we understand what our homeowners are wanting to do with the outdoor kitchen. We understand their needs. We understand the budget. We've picked out what appliances and equipment are going to be needed to meet those needs. Now we have to figure out how we're going to build the outdoor kitchen. And there are 5 major construction techniques used for outdoor kitchens. You've got your prefab kitchens, custom framed, block systems, which are sort of a modular masonry system. You've got traditional masonry, and then you've got modular. And I'm going to show you examples of each of those. Prefab kitchens often look a lot like this. Some of them are completely pre-planned. Some of them can be customized. You can go on a configurator and pick out all the different things you want and how big it should be. But the key thing on a prefab kitchen is it typically arrives fully finished. It'll arrive without the appliances dropped in, but the access doors will probably be installed, things like that. It's going to come on the back of a truck, and you can literally drop it in position, connect it to the utilities, drop in the appliances, and it's ready to go. These are kind of the entry level for outdoor kitchens, and you can get into a prefab outdoor kitchen for as little as a few $1,000s going this route. Custom framed is kind of the next level up, and a lot of those prefab kitchens are built using the same technique. It's just they're not custom and they're not built on site. Custom framed is built on site. I definitely recommend working on top of concrete footings, which you see here. And I recommend working with galvanized steel framing, which you see here. It's framed out by a carpenter and then it's skinned in cement board or other type of fiberboard, and then the finish can go on that. It typically incorporates the appliances as cutouts and access doors and the like. So this is sort of the next level up. The great thing about a custom framed outdoor kitchen is it can look like anything. You can cover it in cement plaster, you can cover it in stone veneer or brick, you can cover it in style. So it's very flexible from an aesthetic standpoint. The block systems, and this particular example is from Eldorado Stone. They're probably one of the more popular ones out there, but there are others. These are made from glass fiber reinforced concrete blocks in different sizes and shapes for different functions, but you drop them on a pad, level them up, bolt them together. And what you've done is you've skipped all the way to the finishing stage from a custom framed outdoor kitchen. You've gotten to the point where you've got the cement board skin on the frame. You just skipped the framing. So this is ready to apply cement plaster or stone veneer or any of those types of finishes. Masonry really differs from the previous two in that the stone is somewhat structural. This is traditional true masonry. We see this a lot on high-end outdoor kitchens. You'll see this outdoor kitchen is kind of a throwback to what I was saying is the way they used to be, where it was just a built-in grill with some nice stonework and a countertop. You can build a kitchen that looks like this if you have a thick enough stone veneer using either of those two previous techniques of custom framed or block systems, but this one is built with true stone masonry. And the last option is modular outdoor kitchens. And modular outdoor kitchens is really just working with full cabinetry. It's like working indoors with semi-custom kitchen cabinetry. And the cabinetry itself in an outdoor kitchen like this is the structure. So these stand on their own leveling legs. One cabinet attaches to the next. A good system is going to have appliance surrounds and back panels and things like that, so it can be finished on both sides. This is the quickest installation other than prefab, and it can be used in combination with stone and things like that. I want to talk about usability, near and dear to my heart and a top priority for every outdoor kitchen. There are three keys to usability, and this really isn't that different outdoors than it is indoors, although we do tend to talk a bit more about functional zones. The keys to usability are functional zones, workflow, and landing areas, all being paid attention to and well thought through and given enough priority. I'll highlight your functional zones here. You've got your hot zones, which I've highlighted in orange. That includes your cooking. It includes the warming cabinet there in the foreground. And it includes, in my opinion, the countertop space that is dedicated to supporting the hot zone. You've got your cold zones on the far right in the deeper blue. That's an under-counter refrigerator and the countertop area adjacent to that. Got your wet zones, which is obvious with the sink and its landing area. And then you've got the dry zones in green. We want to make sure that we plan for each of those four zones and try not to shortchange any of those zones. And then really think about how the workflow for prepping activities, cooking activities, serving, and cleanup are all going to work with those zones. And then lastly, of course, and I'm sure everybody on this webinar is very familiar with the importance of landing areas. They get shortchanged a lot outdoors, and they tend to be a lot smaller outdoors. We'll touch on that a little bit, but we want dedicated landing areas for each of your primary stations in the outdoor kitchen, like I've highlighted here. What's different outdoors than indoors, and it's related to usability, is we're dealing with the elements. We're dealing with the elements much more so outdoors than indoors. We're dealing with the sun and the notion of our countertops getting overly hot and the problem of UV deterioration. I get asked a lot about using quartz countertop outdoors, and some people actually recommend it, but they are not UV stable. They're going to yellow and fade over time. They're not going to fall apart, but they're going to change color. So UV deterioration, fading, color change is an important factor. We have to deal with the rain. I'm going to show you a drip edge recommendation for countertops, but we're also looking at sheltering the cooks and the guests from the rain. Darkness, this is obviously a factor indoors as well. If you turn up the lights, it's dark. But it's really easy to have plenty of task lighting during the daytime in an outdoor kitchen. But when night comes, the challenge is there's not as many easy ways to deal with a lighting plan outdoors because you often don't have an overhead structure. So we got to deal with task lighting and ambient lighting. We've already touched on wind and what it means with blowing smoke. But we also have to deal with linens and towels, things like that, trying to blow away in the outdoor kitchen. This doesn't really happen indoors. So we want to think about a recessed place for paper towel storage and linens and things like that, where you can still get at it easily, but it's not blowing away. Heat, we've got to deal with not just the comfort of the humans who are out there, but we also have to factor that in for refrigeration. Really high quality refrigeration available that can still operate when it's 110 degrees outside. But there are other more entry level brands where the manufacturer will recommend turning off the refrigerator if it gets to 85 or 90 degrees. Obviously, that doesn't help you keep your food cold. It's also important to understand that not all outdoor refrigeration or under counter refrigeration is food safe. It's not always guaranteed to hold the product inside below 40 degrees, below the danger zone, ideally more like 34. So that's a factor to think about. And then cold. If we're dealing with something in the frost zone, we have to have materials that are freeze thaw resistant. We have to winterize our plumbing. We have to winterize some of our appliances like an ice maker. And we might want to add heat, such as radiant heaters under a pergola for our humans. So counter space guidelines. This is an interesting one. So outdoor kitchens are almost always smaller than their indoor kitchen countertop at any given home. There's a lot of people's outdoor kitchen that's bigger than my indoor kitchen, but in general, the outdoor kitchen is smaller than the indoor kitchen in that home. There's also different realities to how they're used. So we have scaled down our recommendations for countertop frontage. And I say it gets interesting. You'll see it's only at the largest outdoor kitchens down at the bottom of those 4 bullets where we actually are able to get in line with the NKBA guidelines for kitchen design. And that's 158 inches. In the smallest outdoor kitchens, we're just trying to eke out 36 inches. And I wish it wasn't so hard, but it is. I'm going to show you some examples at each size to think about it a little bit more. We've all seen outdoor kitchens like this. We're trying to cram in a lot of stuff. We're trying to cram in the capabilities that are going to be fun or whatever. We're just really doing everything we can to get a minimum of 36 inches of countertop space for a kitchen like this, and 48 inches of countertop space for a kitchen like this, just to make it a little easier to work. We always want more. These are the minimums. We're just trying to be realistic at different sizes. As we get up to a medium-sized kitchen, we're looking at for 72 inches, 6 feet of countertop frontage available for cooking, working, prepping, cleaning up. And here we see this is a large outdoor kitchen. It's only when we get to here that we get in line with the indoor recommendation of 158 inches. Storage space is something that we also scale down outdoors, and we tend to scale it down a lot more even than the countertop space. And that's in recognition of the reality that a lot of people don't store a lot of things in the outdoor kitchen. In the smallest kitchens, we're just looking for 21 inches. And that 21 inches is probably dedicated to some grilling tools. It's probably dedicated to some cleaning supplies. And it might have some cooking supplies like wood chips, or you might have your charcoal in there, things like that. So that is, I mean, that's really small. That's basically one cabinet, right? As we move up the scale, we get to 3 feet, we get to 6 feet. It's only at those medium kitchens and larger kitchens that we're really starting to think about storing linens, storing flatware, storing servingware, things like that. In larger kitchens, you can keep your outdoor kitchen fully stocked and ready to go. If you're going to do that, you want to think about having weather-tight cabinetry so it's not getting wet and stained and things like that. But the range for storage space guidelines is quite large. When it comes to landing areas, they are scaled down a little bit as well. Here's some highlights. We do have a lot more details available in the outdoor kitchen design guidelines that are available to anybody who requests them. But on a sink, we're looking for 18 inches to each side. On a grill, I'd love to say 2 feet to each side, but really the minimum is we're looking for 2 feet to one side and 1 foot to the other side. Cooktops are frequently merged with the grill and share the landing areas, as we've shown in this drawing. Some other design basics. I touched on the importance of waste and recycling outdoors. It's a no-brainer, just like it is indoors. Something not to forget is to provide electrical outlets, convenience outlets, either in the backsplash or right under the counter for countertop electrics. And some grills have a separate rotisserie motor that needs a place to plug in. We've talked about protected paper towel space. Another thing, that bottom picture there is carts. We're always looking for more room in the outdoor kitchen. One great way to add flexibility is to use carts that are finished in counter height. We can make them look nice by having matching countertop material to the rest of the kitchen, but it allows you to move things around and reconfigure as needed. Going back to that example of caterers and cordoning off the kitchen, carts can be a good way to do that as well. Promised we'd talk about most common design mistakes. No surprises there, probably. We're looking at insufficient counter space, just cramming the countertop full of countertop obstructions and countertop intrusions, squeezing in a countertop pizza oven, a sink, a cooktop, and a grill, and leaving no countertop space left. So we're always fighting for more countertop space. Insufficient lighting. I'm going to touch on some of the challenges of lighting. Insufficient sink or complete lack of sink is a big design mistake outside. And then there are a lot of outdoor kitchen misconceptions that we deal with all the time. And I think some of these are getting minimized over the years, but they still exist. One is that outdoor kitchens are only for warm and sunny climates. Just not true. We're doing them, we're doing them in Canada, we're doing them in Alaska. It doesn't have to be the Sun Belt to merit an outdoor kitchen. Another myth is that refrigeration has to be dragged out of the kitchen and brought indoors or kept in the garage during the winter. And that is also just not true. The higher quality appliances are winterized. A refrigerator, simply by turning it off, give it a coat of stainless steel polish, turn it back on when the spring time comes along. All appliances need a cover. Also not true. Some appliances you want to cover just to keep them clean, but high quality appliance doesn't need a cover to protect it from the elements. Speaking to refrigeration and leaving it outside in the winter, you actually do not want to cover it, because the worst thing for that refrigerator is to trap any moisture inside. Lastly, stainless steel can't handle salt air. It absolutely can. There are several grades of stainless steel, and that's important to understand. There's 4 series stainless steel, which is the least expensive stuff. That is the most corrosion resistant, and I would not build an outdoor kitchen with 4 series stainless steel cabinets or grills involved. There's 300 series stainless steel, which starts out at 304. This kitchen, and the reason I bring it up as an example following that misconception slide, this is 304 stainless steel, and it is on the island of Nantucket. It's been there since 2005 or 2006. I don't remember for sure right now. And it doesn't show a single spot of rust. It is covered in a salt fog every night. They just take care of it and keep it clean and don't let that corrosion create a foothold. However, you can, in the case of some manufacturers, upgrade to 316 stainless steel, which is marine grade, or even 316L, which is the low carbon variant of 316. And that is much more corrosion resistant. It gives you peace of mind, and it makes it so you don't have to work as hard to keep it clean. But stainless steel can definitely handle the salt air. When it comes to shelter, we're talking about keeping people comfortable, right? We've got shade structures such as this wonderful dappled light structure from a company called Parasoleil. They do wonderful stuff. That's all metal. Full roofs. If we're going to try and protect from rain, you can do a full roof. You can do retractable roofs or the louver kind of things that close. I can't emphasize enough the importance of overhead structures being non-combustible. Every grill manufacturer that's at least got a certified grill, part of that certification process is the boilerplate info that you do not use this underneath an overhead combustible structure. It's very important. There are ways to make a more normal structure not combustible overhead. One of those ways that's popular is a vent hood, but there are a lot of other ways we can go to. The best thing, though, is completely non-combustible throughout. Task lighting. I mentioned the challenge. If you have an overhead structure, whether it's a full roof or a pergola, that is the perfect place to add your task lighting, right? Um, it's the same as you do indoors, of course. We can also, if we're backed up against a wall, we can use wall lights. That particular one in the middle is not the best example of a task light, but it is an example of mounting lights on walls. If we're out on in space, we got to get more creative. And one of the things we can do is like the photo on the right, we can add post lights. These post lights in this example come up from behind the countertop and are mounted into the ground, but we can actually mount them to the countertop as well. We can also do, more cylindrical and modern sort of post lights. But those are the three primary options we have for task lighting. When it comes to ambient lighting, there's two parts to ambient lighting. One is just feeling good and good lighting design. The other is safety. We do want to make sure that all paths and steps and anything leading to and from the outdoor kitchen is lit for safe travel after dark. And we typically want to do that with more of an ambient lighting type situation. You don't want it big and bright like a parking lot light. We want ambient lighting to be indirect. We want enough for the entire kitchen and dining area in addition to that safety lighting. And I like to see the ambient lighting on a completely separate control from the task lighting. So after the cooking and cleanup is done, we can turn off or dim the task lighting and we're down to just our ambient lighting, and it's a very comfortable place to hang out. Last little tip here is we do want to think about light pollution. We want to avoid light pollution. If you go to a website called darksky.org, that is an organization, and on that website, you will find outdoor lighting fixtures that are recommended based on the way they minimize light pollution of the night sky. Heating, keeping people comfortable, you can use gas or electric heaters under the eaves of the house, underneath the roof. This is a non-combustible roof structure here. It's a great way to add heat. They can be gas or electric, as I mentioned. They can be tower heaters. You can add a hearth or a fire feature that is also used for comfort. And the ultimate luxury in my mind is a radiant heating system where we're going to run heating underneath the patio and underneath the countertop, especially if you use this in conjunction with an overhead structure to trap the heat. Those can be very effective. When it comes to cooling, ceiling fans and other moving air systems are really good. You see a ceiling fan here in this particular outdoor kitchen. I'd love to see one of a bigger diameter, like one of the ones from Big Ass Fans that's available. But it's amazing how much of a positive impact they can have on your comfort during the hot days. They're also very good for controlling insects, little flying insects that are annoying. If you have a fan going, they're going to bother you a lot less. Another aspect of insect control is we can have screens. We could temporarily screen in this outdoor kitchen area, or we can have an organic spray system or even traps. From a design standpoint, we always want to think about the whole environment, right? It's the outdoor kitchen isn't as much a room as it is a part of the whole outdoor living space. We want to make sure we integrate it with the architecture and nature. We want to work with a landscape professional to ensure that we've got plantings that are attractive year round. They might not be blooming and flowering year round, but some things have better branch structures than others. We can go with evergreens, et cetera, and mixing those together in a cohesive plan that covers all the seasons is a very important benefit for outdoor living. We do want to make sure that the outdoor kitchen is a natural extension of the home. And we want to, as much as possible, blur the lines between indoors and out. The more we can blur the lines between indoors and out, the more we're embracing biophilic design, the more we're improving the indoor living as well. So here we have an example of integrating the outdoor kitchen with nature. This is the work of a landscape architect, so no surprise that it's integrated with nature, if not being almost overwhelmed by nature in this case. This is what I talk about when making the home a natural extension, or the outdoor kitchen a natural extension of the home. So often, especially on a multi-story residence, even a tall two-story home, the tallest thing in the outdoor kitchen might only be 5 feet above the patio. And if we build this masonry structure coming out the back of the home, and the tallest thing is the top of the grill at 5 feet, it looks like an afterthought. It's not integrated with the home. It's a great thing to do, a great trick to try and add some height, or an architectural extension like this, also from the folks at Paris Soleil, that kind of give that outdoor kitchen of home and make it part of the architecture. And here, this is Southern California. We obviously can't do this everywhere, but this is, kind of the ultimate example of blurring the lines between indoors and out, as there are almost no barriers between the indoor kitchen and outdoor kitchen. Here we do look at creating separate spaces as part of our holistic design. That countertop we see towards the back there with the red fruit on it, that is the outdoor kitchen. If you're standing at the grill, you're facing this dining area, but the dining area is defined as a room, even though it's outdoors and open, that is separate from the kitchen, which is separate from the lounge area and fire feature in the bowl over there on the left. So we can create distinct spaces outdoors. An important part of making an outdoor kitchen a successful project is making it easy to live with. If it feels like it takes 3 hours to get your outdoor kitchen ready to use every time you want to use it, it's not going to get used. So durability and easy maintenance are a top priority. We want to avoid style temptations that are going to create extra work. And we want to be double, if not triple, sure the appropriateness of each material before we specify it. In this case, the reason I use this example here is that back wall there, that is large format porcelain, making it a lot easier to keep clean than if it had gone with concrete, which would have stained more easily behind that grill. One of the finishes we're going to see the most of that's going to have a lot of impact in the outdoor kitchen is going to be the cabinetry. And there are a few different options out there. We're going to touch on the most basic ones. One is wood cabinets. Wood cabinets are obviously the most popular thing indoors. They can be used outdoors, but we want to make sure that we are choosing a wood that is suitable for outdoors. And we typically want to go with a more natural oiled finish as opposed to painting them. Wood cabinets are going to require the most maintenance out of any of the other options, and they are best used in a sheltered location. One point here, that last bullet, even if you're using wood cabinets, the hardware selection is really important. We're often not thinking in terms of corrosion resistance because we're using wood cabinets, but even if we put a mild screw into that PVD coated knob that's not going to corrode, if we put a mild steel screw through the back, that is, morning dew can even cause that screw to corrode and stain the front of the cabinet. So inside and out, we always want to make sure we've got corrosion resistant hardware. Polymer is another option for outdoors. The advantage of polymer is it will not rot, it will not deteriorate from the elements, it won't corrode. We still have to think about the hardware, the slides, the hinges, and things like that. But there's a number of styles and manufacturers out there for polymer cabinetry. And then, of course, we have stainless steel. What I am most familiar with, it's going to be the most hygienic and durable solution. It's not going to rough up and scratch and stain like the polymer cabinets can. It should not corrode if taken care of, and if it's high quality steel. Some of these are fully finished. Others are going to require finishing panels on the ends and backs. We want to check the materials carefully, and we want to make sure we've got stainless steel hardware on the inside as well as the stainless steel body on the outside. One tip is to mix stainless steel cabinetry with masonry or stucco for a less commercial look. Here you see all stainless steel, but that can be mixed in with stonework and things like that for a completely different aesthetic. And of course, you can go with powder coated colored stainless steel as well to achieve your design goals. The last option is not really cabinetry, it's access doors and inserts. The important thing to know here is that these access doors in the top example, it's just the doors. There's no cabinet body behind that. So the homeowner doesn't have anything other than what you build for them for the cabinet interior. And we do want to box that in and close it off so that we don't have dust from the underside of the countertop, concrete dust or stone dust falling in the cabinet over time. Unless all I'm doing is shoving a bag of charcoal in there, we do want to make sure we finish out that as a box. This used to be the default solution. In some parts of the country, it still is the default solution. Another tip to avoid, and I'm sure nobody on this webinar would do it, but these solutions can look patchy and disorganized. And so we want to make sure we pick access panels that are all the same height and line them up and embrace some symmetry to make it look a bit more organized as opposed to what we see on the bottom there. Countertop considerations, we want to make sure that our countertops are stain resistant. It is almost more important outdoors than it is indoors because of the elements we're dealing with, and the way we sometimes cook in a little bit more messy fashion around a grill than we do around an indoor range. We've talked about the impact of the sun. We do want to make sure that the countertops do not get hot in direct sunlight. It's not just a white versus dark thing. There are dark stone materials that do not absorb or do not become hot from absorbing sunlight, but there are some that are. There are some light materials that still get hot. So the best thing you can do is leave samples in direct sunlight or talk to somebody who's had a lot of experience and can recommend a material. A hot countertop is no fun to deal with. Texture and feel. We're less likely to go polished outdoors. Soapstone is softer to the touch than other natural stones, and it's great for outdoors. We can soften the texture by using a honed granite or a flamed granite, and concrete can be textured as well as tinted. So there's a lot more textural options that we tend to explore outdoors, and I like to see that. I promised that we'd show a drip edge. Here we are. It is basically a 1/8 inch wide by 1/8 inch deep groove cut around the perimeter of the countertop before the countertop is installed. This is something that if your kitchen is not covered by a roof, I highly recommend that you have your fabricator put in this detail. It's going to make all of the cabinetry and appliances stay cleaner and in some cases last longer if we're ensuring that the water doesn't run along the underside of the countertop to the cabinet. This is actually something that I like to see around the sink in an indoor kitchen as well, so that when they have a bit of a water disaster, aren't leaching into the top of their wood cabinets. But it's very important outdoors, at least in my opinion. The other thing that we might want to consider is a slight drain angle. If there is a backsplash and there's no cover to this kitchen, we don't want water to accumulate at the backsplash. So we might want to tilt the front edge of the counter down just a little bit. We're not going to create a drainage pitch. A drainage pitch is a 1% pitch. So that would be on a 30-inch deep outdoor kitchen countertop. That would be a full third of an inch. That's very noticeable. And that's what it takes to get it to actually run off. But what we're trying to do is just keep it from accumulating at the back. So you might drop the front of the countertop just 1/8 of an inch if it's a 30-inch deep countertop, and it's going to make a big difference. Flooring options. The thing I want to emphasize here is slip resistance. Slip resistance is as important in an outdoor kitchen, at least in an unsheltered outdoor kitchen, in my opinion, as it is for a pool area. You don't want somebody slipping on grease from the grill combined with rainwater and hitting their head on the hard stone countertop. So we want to make sure that we don't have polished tile. We want to make sure if we're using porcelain that it is porcelain tile ready for commercial use in an unsheltered area like an outdoor mall. We want to make sure that if we don't have a lot of texture, we minimize the size of the tiles. We're after slip resistance, and I encourage you to think pool deck. It's as important. Stain resistance is important near the grill. As I said, we can make a mess. Heat and fire resistance is also especially important near the grill if you're going to use a charcoal grill or a wood grill. We don't want an ember falling from the grill and slowly smoldering a hole into your wood decking. We want to make sure that we are fire resistant. When it comes to sink options, stainless steel is kind of the default choice. Solid bronze or copper sinks are a great way to soften the look of some of the stainless steel components in the outdoor kitchen. I would encourage you to go with solid bronze or solid copper as opposed to any sort of plating or synthetic finish or artificial finish. Stone and concrete sinks are fantastic. Synthetic sinks, some of them I've had real good luck with. The Sil Granite 2 from Blanco Outdoors. It has held up well for me. Mounting style, you want it undermounted outdoors just like you do indoors for easier cleanup. Here's where it gets a little different. We want to make sure that we have the right kind of strainer in the drain. And by the right kind of strainer, I mean one that's got some real height to it, that has drainage holes around the sides, not just in the bottom. So as leaves and other outdoor debris fall in that strainer, the sink can still drain. We also like to put a stainless steel grid or perforated layer in the bottom of the sink to help keep that stuff out of the drain. A cover for the sink might be required by local codes. If you do a kitchen in Palo Alto, California, you have to cover the sink. You're not allowed to have rainwater mix with the wastewater lines of a home. So that's an important detail to be aware of. And it's just, you just make a stainless steel cover that covers the sink and you're good to go. Faucet options, really, there's nothing tricky here. Any high quality faucet is going to be okay outdoors. I do recommend if you have a sprayer solution that you want to avoid rubberized or plastic buttons. Those can become brittle and don't hold up to UV as well as like having a stainless steel lever for your sprayer. And if you're going to go with a finish other than like a genuine bronze that's bronze throughout on your faucet, PVD is the preferred coating technology. It's what's on all the indoor faucets. It's going to hold up fine outdoors. When it comes to water supply, we've got a decision to make. Do we want to run hot and cold water, or do we want to run just cold? We can save a little plumbing money. Also, if the kitchen is far away and that plumbing line is long, it can be relatively ineffective trying to run hot water 20 feet underground to a kitchen in Chicago. If it's November and maybe I haven't winterized yet, but I'm still out there because it hasn't frozen, it's still not going to be very hot. So we can put in inline water heater, an on-demand water heater under the sink. We can also consider putting an inline water purifier out there for cooking needs and things like that. And the last tip, this weird little doohickey here, is a recreational vehicle water pump. So you will find these in RVs. Typically they're DC powered. For an outdoor kitchen, you're probably going to want an AC powered solution. That connects to a reservoir and the faucet. And when you turn on the faucet, the pump kicks in and delivers water. So if you have a remote location where you can't run plumbing, you can still have a nice hand wash station in the outdoor kitchen by using one of those. Wastewater, we definitely have to deal with that. Most functional solution is tapping into the home's waistline. This is often required by code. This is required in the state of California. You can also compromise, do a French drain or dry well. That diagram there is a French drain. And of course, the greenest solution is to recycle wastewater for use in the garden and irrigation systems. There are systems for doing this that filter the water. When it comes to gas supply, another important part of our mechanicals, the biggest thing to emphasize here is we have to account for the total BTUs that are going to be required by everything on that gas line outdoors. Could be pizza oven, grill, cooktop, fire feature, pool heater, it can get pretty crazy. We have to ensure that we can deliver all the BTUs required at the proper pressure. And it's a chart that your pipe fitter or plumber will look up. It's just important that you check that they're doing so, because the longer the run of the pipe and the more BTUs required, the bigger diameter that pipe has to be. It's very common to find a Kalamazoo kitchen with a 1 to 1.5 inch supply pipe. And if the pipe's not big enough, the equipment won't work properly. Safety shutoff valves, we want to see them at each device for service. We also want a master shutoff that is accessible and a few feet away from any cooking appliance or anything that makes fire for safety so that the homeowner can shut it off in terms of an emergency. The most important point here that I want to make sure I touch on for electrical is the notion of doing a combined GFCI rather than plugging every outdoor refrigerator into a GFCI outlet back in its little cubbyhole, where if it trips, you have to lug the refrigerator out to reset it. We can do the GFI on the entire circuit for the outdoor kitchen. We can do it in the homes panel. We can do it as a separate panel. We want to make sure that you can get at the GFCI reset easily as a homeowner without it being buried down behind a refrigerator. The rest of it is all pretty self-evident, and I do want to try and leave time for questions, so we're going to keep moving. Audio and video. You can have your audio sources inside the house while still having outdoor speakers. If you do so, allow for volume control outside. This is becoming less of a thing as we're all working off Bluetooth speakers and controlling the volume with our phone. But if it's old school stereo system, you might want to have a rheostatic inline volume control outside. Video wiring, even if we're not putting an outdoor TV as part of the kitchen, we do want to consider temporary uses and give you a place to plug in a flat panel TV if you carry it outside for a Kentucky Derby party or something like that. We might want to think about wireless repeaters and this for data. And this crazy contraption here is actually a TV that comes up out of the ground and unfolds for stadium style television in your outdoor living, in case anybody's curious. So in conclusion, cooking and eating outside are definitely enjoyable activities. They contribute to wellness, very important in times like these. I like to say that cooking outdoors takes some of the drudgery out of preparing everyday meals. It makes a Wednesday night meal with the family feel like more of a special occasion. I think it's really great for everybody to embrace outdoor cooking and entertaining. Outdoor kitchens are definitely growing in popularity. As you can see on the AIA survey, it's topped the list for the past 6 surveys in a row. And the most usable outdoor kitchens are the best outdoor kitchens. Doesn't matter how pretty we make it, if we don't design it for usability, if we don't apply good indoor kitchen design practices, it's not going to live up to expectations. Some of the work of people that we showed and shared, in particular some of the drawings. Thank you to these professionals out there. I'm going to close with some of the available resources as well as some contact info. Anybody who's participated today, if you like, just reach out to design@kalamazoogourmet.com. If you want to ask for copies of our outdoor kitchen design guidelines, our outdoor kitchen design project checklist, and our client interview guide, these are all available to you. So thank you very much. And Debbie, what kind of questions do we have that we might be able to address today?
Thank you, Russ. That was excellent. And I don't know if you need to take a drink or not before we get into these questions, but
I'm all right.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to dive right in because we have at least a dozen. So when you were talking earlier about modular systems, Sunny's asking, what modular systems do you recommend?
Well, so Kalamazoo makes 2 different modular outdoor systems. I definitely recommend those, but there are a number of brands out there. If you were to search outdoor kitchen cabinets, the trick is to look into what kind of modules are available. What does any given manufacturer do that enables you to do what you can do with Kalamazoo, which is have appliance cabinets that are built to hold the refrigerator or surround a dishwasher and integrate it into the system. You can use modular systems as completely freestanding and self-sufficient on the patio, in which case you need those elements that I'm talking about, like back panels and end panels and things like that. Or you can still slide them into masonry openings, in which case you don't need some of that stuff.
Okay. And then Adam actually had a couple of questions, but I'll start with the first one. He was asking, do you have a favorite ceramic grill brand?
So, I don't. I prefer the stainless steel Kamados over the ceramic Kamados, but the most impressive ceramic Kamado out there, and I assume that's what you're talking about when you're talking about ceramic grill, is the Komodo Kamado. They're extremely well engineered, very heavy and very nice, but I do actually personally like the stainless steel Kamados.
Okay, great. And then John was asking, can you describe the process you go about incorporating a custom framed outdoor kitchen on an elevated deck?
On an elevated deck, so you definitely have to deal with calculating the load, calculating the weight, things like that. You also have to deal on an elevated deck with if there is pedestrian traffic below, you don't want to be able to look up between pieces of the decking to see the hollow of the framing and things like that. In general, when it comes to static load, you can build a structure that does okay. It is uncommon to put an outdoor kitchen on a deck, but it's definitely been done. If you're working more on a roof type situation, the pedestal systems I think are fantastic, and the floating, large format 2 foot by 2 foot porcelain tiles, structural tiles, or concrete tiles that you put on that pedestal system, that allows for drainage and things like that. So if we're talking about an elevated deck on a roof, um, I'd like those pedestal systems. If you're talking, and then you can build normally. If you're talking about, a deck that's hanging out in space and people walk underneath it, it's a bit of a different ballgame.
Okay, and then just to kind of continue on that same line there. So Angela was wondering, since you were talking about that second story deck of wherever it's going to be, should an engineer be consulted during the planning if it's a small modular kitchen?
I think that is certainly always a good idea, and the static load requirements are going to be different in different municipalities, but you definitely want to make sure that you're factoring in the static load and the active load in terms of how the deck is built and what the local codes require. And if there is any doubt whatsoever on what those add up to, then an engineer should be involved.
Okay, great. And then Kim has two questions. What are good resources for upgrading or replacing appliances like the fridge, the sink, the faucet, the grill? And then for an outdoor stone kitchen with no covering or lighting, what would be a good resource for the lighting?
So there, there's a company called Focus Industries that does a lot of outdoor lighting. I think their products are pretty high quality, and they have some very nice, almost like, desk lamps made from stainless steel that can actually just sit on the countertop and plug in to provide task lighting where you need it. They also have a lot of options for the kind of post lights that I was talking about. They even have some options where you hardwire a socket into the countertop and the light is removable. The nice thing about that is you can get extra sockets and you can put them everywhere you might want to have a light, and they're relatively flush to the countertop. And then you can just have 2 or 3 lights that you move where you need to. And the socket powers the light without a separate cord. Um, Post lights are where I would go with a masonry kitchen with no overhead structure. I would do post lights. If there's a backsplash or bar wall, I'd mount them up there. If there's not, I would just, put them in the rear third to quarter of the countertop, sticking up and casting light at the different workstations. The first question in terms of a good resource for replacement appliances, your high end kitchen and bath appliance showroom should have a lot of options, or there's plenty of e-commerce options. You can go to kalamazoogourmet.com and buy a refrigerator if that's what fits your needs. As I mentioned, when it comes to grills, that's a lot more complicated, and you're probably going to want to talk to a manufacturer if you're considering swapping in their grill to figure out. Obviously you can look up the cutout dimensions for the old grill and the new grill yourself, but those things can be a little complicated, and there's nothing wrong with reaching out for help from the manufacturer.
Okay, great. And then are you okay to keep going for a little bit yet, Russ?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
wonderful. Lots of great comments in here about a fantastic presentation, by the way. So Isabel and Ling, they're both asking, which is the best countertop material for an outdoor kitchen? You did touch on that.
There's definitely no best. There's positives and negatives to just about everything. Some of my favorite materials, Neolith is a large format porcelain that I like a lot. The pros to the Neolith product is, it is impervious to the elements. It actually has an NSF rating, so it's easy to keep sanitary and clean. But the cons are it's a lot more expensive to fabricate because you've got to miter the corners, you've got to use a Curdy board backing, things like that. Another thing that's out there that's a modern material that people consider using is Decton from Cosentino. That is it's like a compact surface. It's not porcelain, but it has some of the same properties. Again, it can be a bit challenging to fabricate. On the easier to fabricate side, I love concrete. I love the way concrete is going to develop a patina over time. So just a nice fiber reinforced, polished, custom concrete countertop is a great way to go outdoors. There's a company in New Jersey that does fantastic work with making their concrete look like wood, and they are JM Lifestyles. That might be something you'd want to look into as an option, or at least inspiration. And then soapstone. Soapstone is a perennial favorite of mine. I love how easy it is to take care of, how easy it is to just refresh with some mineral oil. The fact that you can even lightly sand out scratches, things like that. So, I mean, there's just lots of choices.
Okay, great. And then just to, Paulette actually had a comment about that since we're talking countertops. She said, have you heard of Lapitech sintered stone for countertops? She said it has no resins, comes in slabs, can be machined like quartz and granite, is freeze thaw resistant, can be used for counters, decking, wall cladding, pool liners, and any outdoor project.
I have seen Lapitech at KBIS. I think it is a very attractive product. It sounds fantastic. I have not actually personally worked with it yet on any projects.
Okay, let's see here. Wanda was asking, and this I kind of thought was interesting. She was asking, what would you recommend for a person in a wheelchair for dimensions for an outdoor kitchen?
You know, the dimensions for being compatible with wheelchair use
Yes,
outdoors are very
yes.
much the same as indoors. You might want to consider slightly more clearances outdoors. The, the biggest tricks outdoors in that regard, you know, obviously we can do lowered section of countertop, we can do voids underneath the countertop for pulling into. The real key is making sure that we have a very nice flat patio surface for rolling on, which is not always the case outdoors. The biggest challenge in that regard is the grills. There are not a lot of grills that work well for those instances in a safe manner. So that's one of the biggest challenges. But in terms of the dimensions, you know, you want the reduced height on the countertop. We definitely want to make sure that we've got knee space in all the appropriate areas, including the sink, and of course a smooth patio surface.
Thank you. And Ariel, she's asking, why is frontage countertop important? She said, it looks like frontage and landing have different measurements and area requirements.
You know, that's a great question. I think of landing areas as specifically supporting a primary workstation. So a landing area on either side of the grill, a landing area on either side of the sink. Frontage to me is above and beyond that, and it doesn't matter that it's frontage. It's just kind of the easiest way to measure as opposed to square inches or things like that, right? So when we're talking landing areas, that measurement is frontage. Um, but landing areas alone aren't enough. And we also don't want our sort of general purpose countertop space eating in on our landing areas, if that makes sense.
Okay. And then let's see, Tara was asking, are there any recommendations for refrigeration in an incredibly hot and sunny area like Las Vegas?
You just look at what the manufacturer's instructions say in terms of what to do when it's hot outside. One good indication is if you can start off with refrigeration that is an Energy Star rated, which doesn't apply to all refrigeration. I don't think there's an Energy Star rating that applies to wine preserves, for example. But if you're talking about a refrigerator, if it's an Energy Star rated unit, that means it's a little bit more capable outdoors. It might have more insulation, things like that. Look for variable speed compressors so that the refrigerator can kick into overdrive when it needs more cooling power. Look at time for pull down temps, things like that. And also, very importantly, look to see if there is any temperature at which the manufacturer says to turn off the refrigerator. Um, I can tell you with the Kalamazoo refrigerator, they've been tested to remain food safe temperature when it's 110 degrees ambient, so pretty hot. We don't say to turn the unit off. If it's above that, keep it plugged in, keep it going, keep it turned on. The only reason 110 is the magic number is because that's as hot as the test chamber goes.
Okay, great. Let's see here. Could you address, Wayne wants to know, could you address the codes for having a vent over a grill if you have a combustible roof? He says customers have a hard time understanding the need for that, and he has seen wood pergolas burn.
Um, so as I mentioned, I think I mentioned, in North America, the certification body is CSA, which is actually a Canadian Standards Association, but it applies in the US because we don't have our own body for grills. A CSA certified grill will have a label on it that says do not use beneath overhead combustible structure. So your building inspector is going to look at that and look up and see a wood ceiling and say, you can't do this. It's just a fact of life. So it is very important to make it non-combustible overhead. Yes, a pergola can be a bit of a squishy area when it comes to pergolas. I think in terms of open area and height, by the strictest letter of the guidelines, you cannot use a combustible pergola. It's no different than a ceiling, but there are some fudge factors if it's open enough, not solid enough, things like that. However, vent hoods are tricky. So everybody's go-to, and you see a vent hood on this photo here, right? Everybody's go-to when it comes to making an overhead combustible structure non-combustible is a vent hood. And it does a good job. It fulfills the requirements for that. You asked about codes. I like to embrace the commercial standard of the vent hood extending in six inches in each direction, fronts, back, and sides beyond the appliance. That's for added safety. That's not typically done indoors, but I like to see that outdoors. The challenge is they're not always ideal at capturing smoke. So if you're looking at the vent hood to solve the combustible problem, you're good to go. But if you're looking for the vent hood to also evacuate smoke from an outdoor space like the one in this picture, that becomes a challenge. And it's complicated to explain. In a in an indoor environment, you have balanced makeup air, right? So the vent hood, it's 1400 CFMs or whatever amount you have. It's drawing air out, and the air can really only come from one place because we have a controlled and balanced system indoors. Outdoors, there's infinite makeup air. So that hood is going to be drawing 1400 CFMs no matter what. But it can come from just about anywhere because you have almost infinite air supply. So it's not always going to draw the smoke in or collect the smoke, and you can end up with a smoky environment, even though you solved your non-combustible problem. I realize that's not really what you asked. In terms of standards, 6 inches beyond the grill in every dimension. Keep it low enough to the grill, preferably about 3 feet above the cooking grate, to try and make it the most effective it can be in terms of collecting the smoke. Make sure the vent hood is suitable for the grill. A Kalamazoo grill has melted other brands of vent hoods because of the plastic parts in them. So you want to make sure that the hood is suited to the grill.
Well, I'm so glad that you addressed the hood because there were a lot of questions about that, especially with the fact that some people might use smokers outdoors and different types of grills besides just a regular gas grill. So thank you for addressing that. There were a lot
Sure.
of questions. Let's see, I don't want to go too much further, but there was someone here that Angela had a question about, can you just kind of touch once more on the countertop drip edge? How does it work and what does it protect? The hardware, the cabinet front, or exactly what?
So it's without a drip edge, the water is gonna, especially if it's smooth underside of the countertop, without a drip edge, the water is gonna cling to the bottom of the countertop and it's gonna go all the way to whatever's there. If you've sealed your countertop with silicone at the edge to whatever's there, then that water is really only gonna hit the face of the thing. But you're gonna be, even if we're just talking about cleanliness, let's say it's the world's best stainless steel cabinet, the drip edge is going to cause the water to hopefully drip off and not run down the face of the cabinet. So you're not constantly trying to wash or polish or clean hard water stains off the front of your cabinet. It's purely an aesthetic thing. It makes less work for the homeowner. In situations where you might do wood cabinets, like the examples we saw, we definitely don't want the water going all the way back to the wood cabinet and leaching between the top of the wood cabinet and the countertop, where it's never going to dry and it's going to rot. It's going to rot the wood. You want to avoid moisture buildup anywhere you can. A drip edge is a great way to do it, but the simplest notion is that the drip edge is just going to make it easier to keep your outdoor kitchen looking nice because there's not going to be water running down the face of everything all the time.
That's perfect. And then I just want to give you this one final question. There are still more, but we do have to end. So Stephanie was asking, does your organization offer service of sending designs to your company so that they can be reviewed?
So if you are working with Kalamazoo, we provide design support on every single outdoor kitchen project. Even if you don't need any help from the creative or layout standpoint, we're still going to do a complete CAD drawing for the outdoor kitchen as part of order verification and to help the installers and things like that. Um, I'm always happy, and other people on my team are always happy to answer general design questions, but we won't do drawings for things that aren't Kalamazoo.
Well, that makes perfect sense for us. And I really do appreciate it. I wish we could keep going with the questions because this has been a great presentation and many people have commented as such as that here in the chat and the Q&A section.
Well,
I
it's
want to
nice to
thank
hear. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Outstanding. And I want to thank Blaze Outdoor Grills for their generous sponsorship. And once again, thank you, Russ, and thank all of our folks out there in the audience for being with us today.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.